Ow now, brown cow. show them this. They'll come work for us right away.
I am kicking off episode 3 today for a special episode because we have 2 guests, and I'm thrilled to introduce Zac Stafford and Robert Steele today to join me. Their story is so unique. They ended up joining at the same time, and I look forward to hearing their stories, how they've shaped the way that they sell throughout their careers, how they sell at Workday, and how their paths cross. So before we jump in today, I will let each of them introduce themselves. Rob, you're to my left.
All right, Ashley, thanks a lot. Robert Steele. I serve as Workday's Group Vice President for what we call our SLED organization. So that's state government, local government, higher education, and our nonprofit organization. My 15th year here at the company. Live in Charleston, South Carolina with my wife and 16-year-old daughter. Grew up in New Jersey, moved down here about 8 years ago.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Ashley. Good to see you, Rob. Zac Stafford. I run our medium enterprise squad. I too am in my 15th year. I was in the payroll world before. I'm employee number 1099 with Workday. I live north of Atlanta, Georgia, with my wife and 2 kids. We live on a little farm out in the woods. And it's been an amazing run with Workday and can't wait to discuss it here with y'all.
Thanks for joining us.
Steely, what number were you?
I was 11:30. So we were right.
Yeah. We're right there.
We were at the same
like 5
time.
minutes apart.
Yep.
We were each other's first friend at Workday too. We were in training together. I think we had like 70 people that were in our class, stuffed in a closet in the Marriott. Amazing. I think we still got 10 or 15 folks that are still here, or in the ecosystem that are with partners or that type thing.
Yeah, we had a classic old school Workday onboarding. It was not what many people get to experience, onboarding at Workday today, which is like a period of time where they get to spend multiple days together, practice on the product, get to know each other. They do all sorts of things. Zac and I were in a room for like half a day. They showed us a few things, and then our co-founders, David and Neil, came by and said, let's have a cocktail. And that was basically it. And Zac and I ended up meeting that day in, like, as he said, first friends at the company, and have remained close ever since.
Yeah, we were standing at a watering hole, and we were kind of standing by each other, and we are like, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Because like this is going to be something special." And I tell you, whether you think lucky or blessed or however you look at stuff, it's like I couldn't have wished it any better. And I know Rob feels the same way. It's just been an amazing experience 15 years in. Yeah.
I can remember it very clearly. The whole thing feels like a wrinkle in time when you think about good people, good customers, good leadership, good values, and everything in between. It's been something special. And it kind of felt ordained that way. Like when I got to run into you that first night, that was something where you said, I remember leaving and saying to myself, if there's more people like this is going to be really fun.
What's even cooler is Rob and I don't know what the numbers are, but we've been in 5, 6, 7 different roles at Workday between then and now. And so he and I got put on a team back together last year, and we had a QBR, and then we had a dinner after the QBR. And we looked around and we're like, wait a second, are we at the same place that we were 15 years earlier?
No
the
way.
Same restaurant and the same building. And we figured it out. It's amazing how just the cycle has helped us and brought us together and allowed us to stay friends. It's been great.
It's perspective. Anytime I meet someone at Workday, I've been here 5 years and it feels like it flies, but also when you reflect and look back on what Workday was 5 years ago, 15 years ago, you're like, holy cow, what a transformation. And it just makes you that much more excited to be here. I actually want to take it back pre-15 years ago, because you all have had quite the career trajectory just at Workday. But before Workday, before titles and territories, how did each of you get your start in sales, and what was your first real selling job?
Sure. Well, I can give you the first selling job sort of in this world, but I'll tell you what my first selling job was. My uncle had a little retail operation, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, started in 1989, and it was like a little pet supply store. And they also added on like a grooming operation to it as well, right? So my uncle did that in Harrisburg for over 30 years before he retired. I was around probably 13 years old when I used to go out there and spend time, and he used to let me run the register, help stock shelves, and actually interact with people. So I learned early on what it was like to see human beings coming in and, all different types of weather, all different times of the day, before work, after work, with their families. And they were all coming in for a very, very specific reason. And that was the first time I was talking to them about how much things cost and how much of it was left and how soon we could get something that they were looking for, and upselling something or suggesting something else that they might get. I was very young, but it was my first experience with like paying for a good or service that I was responsible for. I still don't know how he let me like run the register at that age, but I did. And the most important thing about it was I just got to interact with people. Like I knew what it was like to start interacting with people. If they objected to something, if they had an issue with something, or trying to communicate something to you that like you couldn't understand. In this world, was a solution consultant. That's the first job, let's say, attached to the sales organization. My job was to work with the sales team on, discovery and setting up and configuring, an environment with use cases, and then demonstrating the product, doing follow up. Those are sort of, while you could say that was like my first official one in this world.
Everyone should have experience retail or the service
Mhm,
industry because it really allows you to understand human psychology, really getting to the root cause of someone's having a
mhm,
bad day. You said people
mhm,
come in all kinds of weather.
mhm,
Taking all of that information and understanding what matters to you and how to meet someone with empathy is pretty
mhm.
important.
Yeah, you could just feel that and sense that. And my uncle was really good about like, he was my first person to also give me like critical feedback, a little bit of like, be careful how you say this, remember that's why they're coming in and saying that. That person's been here 10 times before. Like that's why they assume something of you and ask that question. Little things like that. When you're little, you don't think about it as much. But then as you get older, you think back and you're like, yeah, that's sort of the formative building blocks of like learning the simple thing of like meeting someone where they are that day.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the connection even with what we do today here at Workday. You have to sell someone on paying the premium, but there is a worth in paying the premium for what you're going to
Mhm,
get. And so it's about investing in something that is very important to you. But we'll come back to that. Zach,
mhm.
you're up.
Yes. Well, first, Rob, that's why he's got such a good mange because he, he learned it in the grooming section of his uncle's business.
May
Um,
I may still have some product. I don't know.
that's
Maybe.
right. That's right. Uh, so my parents would say that I came into this world selling. In my younger years, it was selling things at our yard sales or riding around on a three-wheeled bicycle selling cokes to the construction workers. Maybe working in a beer or two also that I still let in my dad's fridge, and selling those to whoever would buy them around the neighborhood. My first employment job was cutting grass to the neighbors. And I really came to understand that the harder I work, the more money I can make. The yards I cut, the more cokes that I sold, the more
Mhm,
trinkets I made and sold at the yard sale, whatever it was. I always had like a scheme, a way to go work hard and make money. I enjoyed being around the people. I enjoyed providing a service that would do good for somebody and making money off of it. And so much so that in high school, I grew up in a small, tiny little town in North Georgia, and the first big restaurant that came to our town was Longhorn Steakhouse. And I just turned 18, and I'm like, hey, maybe I could go be a server. So went into Longhorn and learned how to read people and learn the psychology of people and how they like to buy and not be sold. And because of that, they would tip you. And then even if you do all the things right, sometimes they wouldn't tip you. And then you got to figure out the why and come to terms with some of those things. So learned a ton there. Carried that through college, went to University of Georgia, worked at restaurants, worked at bars. But then I had a friend towards the end of school, and I had the travel bug, and I'm like, I really want to go to Europe. And he did this crazy job selling books door to door. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, if you go sell books door to door with me, then the next summer we'll get together and we'll go travel everywhere in Europe. So I'm like, okay, deal. And so I signed up to sell educational books to families, to parents, door to door in the summers. It was for 14 weeks. It was 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. And my friends call it a very regimented program. We would wake up at 5:59 every morning. We would do 15 push-ups. We would take a cold shower. We'd look in the mirror and say, "You good looking thing, don't you ever die," because it makes you smile. and then we would go eat exactly, like, it just makes you happy, right? And
Yeah.
then we would go eat at the same breakfast place, the exact same food from the exact same people. It would be ready when we would get there. We would go out in the parking lot at 7:59 in the morning, and we would go do the bookman dance and run around the parking lot acting like a bunch of idiots, again, which makes you laugh. And literally, we'd knock on 100 to 300 doors a day. My first summer, I was in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is near Roswell with the aliens, White Sands. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, worked my tail off. It was 100 degrees every day in New Mexico. Met some of the most amazing people, but the critical thing I learned there, I wasn't selling books. I was selling education to families who wanted their children to have more. And so you think about solution selling, you think about solving a problem for a customer, which is what we do today. And that really was the heart of it. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life, but it was probably one of the most valuable things and the best lessons I've ever received.
We'll come back to what you said about people want to buy, they don't want to be sold. And that's in everything, right? Like
Yeah.
even just basic day-to-day products that you buy to
Mhm.
keep your house maintained. And that rings true in what your teams are doing today, because the last thing that a customer wants or a prospective customer wants is to feel like they are just another person on your list that you're trying to target and move on. And it's so critical
Mhm.
to say, I am dedicating this amount of time to learn what you need, what you're
Mhm.
investing in, the problem that you're trying to solve. All right, let's move on to Workday then. We've talked about your
Mhm.
experiences that have really shaped who you are today. You both joined Workday more than a decade ago, and from that first role at Workday through where you are today, what are a couple of inflection points or moments where you took a risk and made maybe a non-obvious move inside Workday that really changed the trajectory of your career here? I mean, we're talking 15 years. Surely you've made a couple of moves that you're like, I don't know about this one, but it made a difference in the long haul.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'll go first on this one. Coming to Workday, I was a third line leader at a service bureau before I came to Workday. I had been there for 8 years. I've only worked for two companies. It's that company and Workday. And it was what I knew needed to happen was I needed to take a step back to take a step forward. And so I took an individual contributor role. I was really the first individual that was hired not from a big ERP organization and took a step back and out of leadership. And leadership I loved. I loved working with people and helping people and getting people to their goals. But I realized I can still do that in the individual contributor role and do the helping and the mentoring and those things. And I had a blast getting back into the field, picking up the phone, prospecting, doing all the demand gen, leveraging the amazing marketing events that Workday puts together and selling the product, learning what ERP was. And then after 3 years, I earned the right to get to lead a team again on the net new side of the house. It was an amazing experience.
Wow, rolling up your sleeves, and, I don't know if either of you have seen the show Undercover Boss, but it kinda reminds me of that, where they have someone
Mhm.
that a very high leadership role come in and roll up their sleeves and get back to an IC role, and it kinda changes your perspective a little bit and what you learn, and things change. Selling is very
Mhm.
different from being in the leadership role and facilitating your team and doing so. So,
Yeah.
what perspective to just
I
say, "Hey, I'm gonna take a step back." Rob, what
Mhm.
about you?
Well, if I think about a couple of the major sort of like milestones along the way, I'll just say part of it was coming to the company. I was coming from a company that kind of does something somewhat like what we do in a very specific industry, right? Like at the time, this was Workday like 2010, 2011, so we'd only been around like 5, 6 years, and we're very homogenous at the time. We're still just trying to get customers live, spread the word about this still relatively new thing called enterprise SaaS. And then I was being interviewed for what would be like our first venture into a specific industry. So it was a lot less about what the product could do, it was more like who in one of these areas would be willing to help us create the requirements for it and then try to go live on it. And then let's see if others would like to do this or not. It was kind of it was an unknown at the time if it was even going to work. The world I came from and these regulated industries, they were famous for like heavily customizing exactly what it is that they want and need given regulation changes over time. And then we were going to come in with this one-to-many SaaS solution, which you really couldn't, you couldn't touch the code on. You couldn't customize it. So in those early days, that was going to be a tough conversation. Um, So when I left that company, several of my peers on my team at the time, many of whom were either work here now or at one point I did recruit and got here at that company, they all looked at me and said, "Are you nuts? Like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? We're all doing great. We're all having a good time. Our team is good. Why would you rock the boat?" And just being like a student of the game and knowing Dave Duffield companies, when I looked at it, it was the first company in my life where I wanted to say, I really don't care what it is I do. I want to be part of something that I know is going to be disruptive and successful in the industry. But when I met people like Dave Duffield and his son Mike, and I got to experience the energy in the building and talk a little bit more about their plans, where the leap was I really didn't know where I fit. They actually interviewed me for a pre-sales role and a sales role. It ended up that a couple of people had to go back and talk about which role I'd end up having here. I told Mike at the time I'd sweep the floors at night. I would carry people's bags. I didn't really care. I wanted to be part of a company that had this innovation curve and technology, put this focus on people, and was trying to do it right from day one. You just figure that companies like that are going to be successful. 10 years ago, I was given my first VP job here. And I remember it was to open up a specific sort of subsection of a go-to-market that we really hadn't done anything before in. And I'd never had national leadership responsibilities. And I wasn't really sure if I could do it. Candidly, I was having a little bit of self-doubt. And our former co-president of our company, then my people leader, looked at me and said, "Say yes, figure it out later." And I said, "Absolutely. If I'm following you," I said yes. And at that point, what I learned was sometimes having a simple faith in success, that if you just do the basics, if you're working hard, treat people well, and apply yourself along the way, good things can happen. So,
And when we started at Workday, we were like, what is Workday? And Workday had 200 customers when Rob and I started. And then in each role, you're like, can I do this? Yes, I could do this. Just make yourself believe, have a good attitude, work hard, take care of people, bring people with you, surround yourself by smart people, and go figure it out together. And something amazing can happen. And that's really what
mhm.
happened at Workday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, Zach, if you look at the 2000 teens, especially, it's also a testament to what's possible if you've got the right people in the right leadership roles. If you take a look back at it, I know that, Zach and I have been fortunate to have very, very good leaders. I can't think of one along the way where I did not have an impactful leader that challenged me, but believed in me, pushed me really hard, held me to a really, really high accountability standard. It was also along the way investing in me constantly. And I know not everyone could always say that. It's one of the things that when you look back at it, that's why I think it's like a wrinkle in time. We benefited from so many good human beings here that were training the next level of people. It's one of the reasons why I feel I'm having fun in my role. I'm confident in the role. I like doing what I'm doing, mostly because I get to look back and I get to say all this passed along the way.
We've talked about leadership and your career trajectory. How has it changed from a seller's perspective and selling at Workday? What has it been like over the journey? What's significantly different? And what are we doing differently than other organizations are when it comes to selling?
Last week, we were in Chicago for our sales kickoff, which Rob and I have been through 15 of those. But this year was different. We have changed from an application company selling HR and finance to an AI company that includes HR and finance. And it's amazing what it's doing to our product. It's amazing what it's doing to our selling motions and the actual problems we're going to be able to solve for our customers, the work, the mundane tasks that are going to be taken away from our customers so that they can be more strategic with what they are searching to do and wanting to do and the problems that they're having. It's amazing what Anil and Garrett and the teams have built and what we're turning into. We really are transforming again, just like we did from on server to SaaS years ago. We're doing that again as we move to application to AI.
Workday is a testament to like being an enduring type of company that's kind of defined the enterprise app space for SaaS. We were the first company to really go out and do this with a brand new line of code. And if I think back of those early days, we didn't have much of a product. We didn't have many live customers. We were walking in and trying to get people philosophically on board with SaaS and doing so in a way to say, we're a company that treats customers better and differently because we treat our employees better and differently. Now, if you fast forward, what's happened in that period of time? Now we've got a product that's in the leader quadrant for companies like Gartner and other rating agencies. We've got 20 some thousand employees. We've got 11,000 plus core customers, a couple dozen countries. Where now that we are a place that has the functionality and everything, we're at the intersection of AI and SaaS right now. It's hard to overstate to people who are either interested in working at Workday or the account executives that are here that if you've been here, you get to do this again. You get to guide customers in a way that is very much like we used to guide them, which was looking towards a future, what's going to be possible in harnessing the power of AI that we're like uniquely positioned to help deliver for our customers. And this one-to-many model that we have, this pristine sort of data core that we have, trillions of transactions that we have in the system over and over again, this puts us in the prime position to go into our customers and share with them. It's an awesome conversation to walk in and say, we have spent a decade and a half talking to you about how we're going to help you make your business more sustainable. Now we're going to talk to you about how we can make you more productive, harness this technology, and leverage this thing that you invested in with us a long time ago. Hopefully be the last time you ever have to do something like this. So it's kind of getting back to our roots a little bit.
We're helping customers achieve their goals. We're helping them eliminate issues. We're developing relationships. I mean, these transformational projects that we're doing, these are 10, 15, 20, 30-year relationships. I mean, it's a heart transplant for some of these organizations. And you don't want to do that very often. When you do it, you want to make sure you do it really well. And Workday is that for our customers.
Coming off of Sales Kickoff, I've heard a lot of great things, and it seems like everyone is re-energized and reinvigorated after coming out of that. You get back on the plane, you get back in your office, you're having your one-on-ones with your team. What are your sellers actually talking about? What are the real hallway conversations that are happening in the Slack threads around what was shared at Sales Kickoff?
Getting in the field. Like it's like where the magic happens is when a Workday employee gets in front of a customer or a prospective customer and starts learning more about them so that we can help them do what they need to do in our applications. And so it's, you know, the change that happens in the beginning of a year, for us, it's February 1st. Then you got sales kickoff that comes within 4 weeks or so after, generally right after earnings. And then Monday comes and it's like, okay, we just got all the information. We got all the new things that are live now. We got all the new things that are coming in the future. Now, what do we do? And the answer is get out and go see your customers. Go ask questions, find out where the issues are, and figure out if we can help them. And if we can't, don't be afraid to say it. Like, we don't want to sign somebody up for something that isn't going to help them, that isn't going to make them better. And so it's okay for our employees to walk away and say, hey, we can't handle that. But where we can't handle that, we got to show them how it's safe. We got to show them how it's easy to consume. And we got to show them how to use it as quickly as possible so they can get out of it what they need to get out of it.
Yeah. And I mean, Zac nailed it before, I think, which is one of the best things about selling at Workday is this is not some edge application. This is not some small around, it's like something, well, you could sign up for a couple of years, spend a couple of dollars on. If it doesn't work, I can just get rid of it. It is like minimum every 20 years that you're doing it. Sometimes it's 25, sometimes it's 30. They do it once in a generation. But when you are doing this, I tell our team all the time, your business card weighs 1,000 pounds. It's heavy. It has a lot of consequence to it. When you walk in, you represent how through a piece of technology, everything about their people, their regulatory data, their money, their assets, their critical infrastructure is all flowing through everything that we do. The people you talk to are different. The level of the conversations are different. The demand on the accountability that you are a professional, it really, puts a term like capital P, professional. Just the very nature of it means that you're invited into rooms that if you're not, if you're selling here, it's just different than selling at some different companies. That's number one. But then two, what that means now is like, instead of being someone who's coming out of SCO and saying, I can't wait to go talk to you about our new scheduling product. I can't wait to go talk to you about the enhancement that we just made to our budgeting solution. That's all well and good. But like Zac said, people are fired up. They're going into the field and they're having a conversation about one of the biggest technical trends that may ever encompass our lifetime. And you get to be at the intersection of like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this with you, Workday? And talk to us more about it. Some people might say payroll's not like that sexy, right? Like it's payroll, they're balancing your books and now, but I'll tell you, if you're a CFO or you're a CHRO, there can never be an error in payroll. It all has to be perfect every single time. What we do is super important. But it's a great time to be talking about these things because We get to go have a conversation on number one, how are we going to make you more productive with these things? Like, take a look around the world right now. It's not like people are flush with a ton of headcount. They're being told you have to be much more efficient. You've got to be more productive with less. How are you going to harness technology to do it? We can do that with like the agents that we are delivering today. Or I think that the thing that my team's most excited about, we get to go in and talk to them and say, what are some of the things that we're not thinking of that you would like to maybe prototype with us right now? And let's talk about how we build it together. We have a mechanism to build these quickly, put them into production, and then figure out if you're going to be successful with it. We get to do that right now. If you're an account executive, like what more could you ask for?
And manage all the agents together too with Sana
Hmm.
Enterprise, what it's going to be able to do, and all the agents that Workday's providing and all
Hmm.
the other companies are providing, being able to manage all of those things for customers is going to be amazing.
Yeah, Zach, we talked about this at SCO, which was what does a demo look like in a couple of years? This might literally change the way that people evaluate enterprise software. It might be like you're going to stand at a podium maybe years down the road and just start querying the system and saying, "Show me how we do X," and then it just mocks up exactly how they do it. It's a fascinating moment.
It
Yeah.
really is.
It's Zach, you talked about productivity and enhancements for customers. And Rob, you made a comment of it's very different than going to a customer and saying, hey, look at this new feature.
Yeah.
That doesn't have the same pizzazz as I'm
Hmm.
going to make you more productive and I'm going to eliminate some
Hmm.
of your pain points, and being
Hmm.
able to shape those conversations in a meaningful way instead of just saying, hey, we came off of sales kickoff and I have all these new
Hmm.
product features.
It's
You
the difference in selling someone and giving someone information that makes them want to buy.
Zach, very happy that you brought up Sana because the announcement's going out on Tuesday and this episode will be out after that. So I'm very excited that I can use that clip post announcement. We're very much over time at this point. So I'll leave you with one or two closing questions to round us out. Well, you've been here 15 years, and I'm going to ask you each this question in your own words. What makes a really good day in this job for you right now at Workday? The kind of day where you shut your laptop, you log off, and you say, yeah, I still love doing this. I love being here.
To have a really good day at Workday, it takes two things. We get to help our employees succeed, and we get to help our customers succeed. If we do those two things, and it could be a brand new employee and you show them a report and a light bulb goes off, or it could be a customer that's having a huge issue and it's something that they actually already own, not something that we're selling them, but just point them here and this huge light bulb goes off. And it's like, if we can accomplish that every single day, we're winning.
I agree. A former chief operating officer of Workday used to always say, if you can divide your day into thirds, try to make a third of it about your people, a third about your customers, and a third about your business. If you can try to do that, sometimes don't always live up to it. I find that a pretty fulfilling sort of way to approach it. But to Zach's point, I'll give you a tangible example of like why I love it here is the school that I went to bought Workday. Those folks went live back in January. I get to see the school that I went to, this little school in Pennsylvania, Dickinson College. Go Red Devils, by the way. This little liberal arts school in Pennsylvania, and they're successful with the solution. You want to talk about pretty gratifying. And the account executive on that particular deal, he clinched sales club and went to Hawaii and got to take his wife on a vacation and earn some money for his young family in doing so. There's something that's just super impactful in my personal life. I was the first member of my family to get to go to college. That place was very special to me. I got to see them be successful. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Hey, and if we're calling out colleges, Mr.
Go
Steele
dog.
had something to do with my Georgia
Yes.
Bulldogs. So, just
Go
shout out if we're doing it.
go go dogs.
Go.
Rob, are you responsible for the Georgia Dogs being a part of
I'm
work?
one of I would say dozens of human beings that are responsible for the Georgia Bulldogs currently implementing Workday right now.
Love it.
Yeah,
Awesome. I love
yeah.
that. See, and what I'll say as a closing statement for that is in each of your responses to that question I just asked you, neither of you said closing a deal, which I think is a common misconception when people are talking about sellers. It's like they're
Mm.
only focused on closing the deal. And yes, you love it and you love the win of it because you wouldn't be doing what you're doing without that good feeling of the win. But you all are talking about providing value. You're talking about getting back to our core values of integrity and supporting one another and employees first. I don't know if you all noticed that, but I noticed it immediately in your responses. And it was just such a genuine response to what I asked.
I think the world has changed like crazy since we started here at Workday, Zac. It's changed since we got into this industry about 20 years ago. I think certain things are part of like a timeless formula. Our co-founder and our CEO, Anil, will say, like, I've never seen a company with happy customers that has unhappy employees. If you treat your people really well, give them a meaningful and inspiring experience, they in turn are going to give a customer a great experience. With all due respect to people like Zac and I, who we think we're pretty good at what we do, the customers will much rather hear from, their peers that are actually deploying the software before they're going to hear from us. Take care of them, they'll take care of you, and then you innovate along the way. Those sorts of things are timeless. I think that they could guide us through any kind of era of technology, or whatever's happening in society, whatever's the backdrop of the economy, or whatever else is in the news that day. Those sort of things, they just perpetuate time.
And it's not, in my opinion, it's not about the winning. It's about doing the process the right way along the way. And the winning comes, that happens. But if you're focused on doing it the right way, taking care of people, taking care of each other, helping people succeed, the repercussions of all of that is the winning. And then everybody gets to celebrate, and we go do it again.
If you measure your life professionally instead of like journey, or if you say it's not the journey, it's not the destination, it's the person you become along the way with the people you do it with. I don't know if there's a better company out there that can represent that really through its values in Workday. And I'm a living example of it. Like, I got to do this with Zac over the last 15 years. There's not a month. I don't know if there's a week that's gone by in 15 years that I haven't talked to him about something or another. I'm a different person. I'm different because of the way the company's impacted me, the people that we've worked with along the way, and friendships like I have with Zac along the way. I mean, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Amen, my brother. I couldn't say it any different.
What a nice way to round out the conversation and bring it full circle. We talked about how you all have grown with a company and how Workday's grown, and it's through embracing the changes. It's through embracing how we grow as individuals, as we expand our families, our lives change, you move, you have different jobs. There's so many outside factors that come into play here. We've grown as individuals, and Workday's grown as a company. What a conversation. Zac, Rob, thank you so much for joining me for episode 3. This has been very fun to have 2 people as part of the conversation today, and I really appreciate you joining me.
He's like fun and really difficult. Yeah.
Thank you. It was awesome.
Thank you.